Welcome. We're going to break down how you can build some seriously powerful enterprise-level web applications by combining Next.js and Django. Let's dig into how these two powerhouse technologies create a system that's way more than just the sum of its parts. So here's how we're going to tackle this. We're essentially going to walk in the shoes of an architect, starting with the big problem every developer is facing right now, working through some huge decisions about code, and landing on the complete, elegant solution. All right, let's kick things off with the fundamental conflict, the big question that really drives this entire architecture. It's a question that has pretty much defined the last decade of web development. For the longest time, you kind of had to choose. You could have a super snappy, fast-loading website or a really powerful, secure backend. Getting both was, well, a massive headache. But a new way of thinking about architecture says, hold on, you can and you absolutely should have it all. And this right here is the solution. We're shifting away from those old monolithic apps, one giant block of code that does everything, to this modern hybrid model. In this world, Django becomes a pure data engine, just serving up information, while Next.js becomes a highly specialized machine just for rendering the UI. It's all about letting each part do what it's best at. Okay, so you've bought into the hybrid idea. Awesome. But now you're at your first big fork in the road. And trust me, this is a major decision. How are you going to organize all your code? Do you put everything in one giant toolbox, a monorepo, or do you keep them in separate toolboxes, a polyrepo? This is so much more than just a filing preference. It fundamentally changes how your team works and how stable your whole application is. Now, this table really gets to the heart of the trade-off. See, with a monorepo, you get perfect sync with what are called atomic commits. All that means is your front-end and back-end changes are locked together in one update, which is amazing for preventing bugs. The catch? Well, your automated deployment pipeline gets a whole lot more complex. It has to be smart enough to know which parts of the app actually changed. All right, let's zoom in on the back-end. We've decided Django is going to be our data powerhouse. But how exactly is it going to serve up all that data? This brings us to a really interesting crossroads in the Django world. And this choice is a classic old guard versus the new kid on the block situation. Do you stick with Django REST framework, the reliable veteran that's been the industry standard forever? Or do you go with Django Ninja, the slick, modern challenger that's all about speed and the latest tech? The key difference really comes down to how they check your data. DRF uses its own system that's powerful, for sure, but can feel a little heavy sometimes. Ninja, on the other hand, is built with all the latest and greatest stuff, like Pydantic. What that actually means for you is you get awesome error checking and data validation pretty much for free, with way less boilerplate code. And this isn't just about making a developer's life easier. There's a real performance benefit here. See, Pydantic, the tool Ninja uses, actually has the high-performance language Rust under the hood. And if you know anything about Rust, you know it means one thing: speed. How much speed are we talking? We're seeing a 20 to 30% performance bump. Now, that might not sound like a lot, but when you're at enterprise scale, handling thousands of requests a second, that's not just a small improvement, that is a massive game changer. Okay, let's pivot over to the front end. In this setup, Next.js is doing so much more than just making things look pretty. It has a super important, almost secret agent kind of job. It's playing the role of a backend for front-end, or BFF. You can think of it as a smart, protective middleman. It sits between the user's browser and your main Django API, handling all the messy details of fetching data and getting it ready for display. And the perks of doing this are huge. First, security. All your secret API keys, they stay hidden on the server, safe and sound. Then there's performance. It's smart enough to avoid asking for the same data twice. And this is really cool. It can stream the user interface. So if one piece of data is slow to load, it doesn't freeze up the whole page. All right, so we've got our two champions, a powerful Django backend and a speedy Next.js frontend. But now for the million-dollar question: how do we make them actually talk to each other? This is where we have to solve what are honestly the two trickiest problems in any system like this: authentication and keeping data in sync. First up, authentication. Think of it like a carefully choreographed four-step handshake. The user gives their login info to Next.js. Next.js, our trusty go-between, passes it to Django. Django checks it out and hands back a secured token. And then the real star, a tool called NextAuth.js, takes that token and tucks it away safely in an encrypted cookie. Smooth, secure, and seamless for the user.
But what about that other nagging problem? Stale data. It's awesome that your Next.js site is super fast because it's cached. But what happens when an editor goes into Django and updates a blog post? How does that fast, static page get the memo that it's now out of date?
The solution is just brilliant. It's called the live static pattern. The moment something changes in Django, it sends a little signal, a secure webhook over to Next.js. Next.js hears it and immediately knows to throw out the old, stale copy of that one page. And just like that, you get the best of both worlds. The insane speed of static with the up-to-the-second freshness of dynamic. So we've navigated all those decisions. We've solved the hard problems. Let's just zoom out for a second and look at the whole picture we've built. What are the core pillars that hold this entire beautiful structure up? It really all boils down to three things. Number one, a rock-solid type-safe contract, so the front end and back end are always speaking the exact same language. Number two, one unified system for managing who's logged in. And number three, that really intelligent caching system we just talked about, so your data is always fresh without ever slowing down. You know, the source material puts it perfectly. This isn't just about taking two popular technologies and duct taping them together. It's way more thoughtful. It's a true architectural synthesis, a single cohesive system that's so much more powerful than its individual parts. When you think about it, you're pairing the rock-solid, battle-tested stability of Django with the cutting-edge innovation of Next.js. It's a really compelling recipe, which leaves us with one big question to chew on. In a world that demands you be both fast and powerful, is this hybrid approach the new gold standard?